Good evening, everyone. I do want to first off start tonight uh, uh, by mentioning that there was some severe weather in the Washington area this evening, and as a result of that, um, there was a lightning strike that hit Lafayette Park just north of the White House here. Uh, from the reports that I have read, there were four people that were hit by this lightning strike. I do want to say that Andre and I do send our thoughts and prayers to those affected by this today, and are praying for a very quick and speedy recovery. Uh, the thing about lightning is you never know when that lightning strike happens, what it hits, and from the reports I read, it happened in Lafayette Park. But there again, we're thinking and praying for a complete full recovery of the victims of today's lightning hit. I do want to talk tonight about the fall agenda for Congress. Uh, Summer vacation, I know they're getting ready to go into their summer recess. It won't be coming back until September, but most everybody is getting ready to get back going. I know school's getting ready to open up here real soon throughout the country. And so I thought tonight would be a good night to talk about the fall agenda, what I think is important for Congress to pursue in these closing months of the year. First and foremost, I think, and these are really no in order of importance, but I do want to mention that border security is one of our top issues. That needs to be handled. One of the first things I would do as president under my administration is reinstitute construction of the border wall. Understanding now that parts of this border wall are going to be completed. While that helps a little bit, I still think that a complete and total completion of this project is necessary. Not only from a national security standpoint, but also from the standpoint of economics. Think about the money. Excuse me. Think about the money that went into this. Think about the contracts that were let to the contractors for this. And so, what we have out there right now on the border throughout South Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico is we have, in parts of California, we have material that is rotting in the heat. And so we pay for it, the taxpayers pay for it, and so I think it's in our best interest to go ahead and get that border wall complete. Going along with the border wall completion of that, the other thing we need to work on is immigration. And I've talked about this so much over the course of the last couple of years. Immigration, again, is a top concern of mine. Now, again, I want to say this. I want people to understand what my position is on immigration. And quite simply is, I'm not saying that we close our borders to everyone. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I am saying that there is a proper way to enter this country. People have been doing it the entire history of our country. There's not a person in this room tonight, there's not a person throughout this country tonight who's listening and watching that our grandparents or somebody in our family were not descendants and came over on ships and went through New York Harbor to make a better life. So immigration has been going on for a long, long time in our nation's history. There's a proper way to go about doing that, and what I'm proposing is that we do that. We need to have secure borders. If we don't have secure borders, we don't have a nation. And so we need to have secure borders. And the way to do that is if you want to become a citizen in the U.S., we welcome you. We welcome you, but you've got to become a citizen of the U.S. the proper way. There are proper ways to become a United States citizen. Yes, it's going to take time. You can't just slide into the U.S. in the darkness of night and go about living like past administrations have done. That needs to come to an end. Under my administration, that would come to an end. There would be no more of these night flights going throughout the country that's been reported. That would come to a complete and total stop. You would enter the country the proper way. Immigration has got to come under control. About it, and the reports, again, these are reports that I've read. Border Patrol has caught a lot of terrorists coming through our southernmost border. Terrorists are coming through. Reports are saying we've got to get a handle on that for the sake of the safety of our nation. The other couple items that I want to talk on that I think are important for the fall agenda is abortion rights. And I know ever since the decision on Roe came out here earlier in the spring, and the final decision came out just a few weeks ago, there's been a lot of controversy, and I think a lot of confusion about this. But let me just say about this. My position on this is very, very clear. I'm very much in favor of life. Very much. I think when you have an abortion, you're taking somebody's life. You're taking a life. Now, I understand there are circumstances that sometimes make an abortion become necessary. And I'm not going to get in a big discussion about that this evening. But what I am going to say is that I do not endorse abortion. I'm very much pro-life, and I believe in the baby going full term. And we have to think about this too. And this gets down to the generational talk. Is think about when you're conceiving that child. And again, I don't want to get in a big discussion about this evening. There's a time and place for that, and I don't believe tonight is a time or the place for that. But when you're conceiving a child, think about you're making a lifetime commitment to that child. First and foremost, for the first 18 years, to make sure he or she grows up to become a responsible citizen of our country and goes about to have a very successful life. That's your responsibility. You shouldn't, I'm not saying you don't have I'm not trying to take your rights away, but we need to think about this. Now, if there's a situation where medically there's not a whole lot of chance of the baby living, that's again a situation that would have to be addressed case by case, and I believe that is a situation where you might want to consider that. But just because you don't want to carry on and carry through with it, I think we need to look at that. Parenting is a lifelong commitment, and I think one of the things that we need to look at is how we're preparing ourselves to become parents. I'd like to see us have a parenting initiative. I know I've talked to Andrea about that a lot, and I said that that's important, and she's like, I don't have anything to do with that discussion, but I think it really is important. I think learning how to parent, that you can be put in a successful position to parent that child, and that child can go off and become very successful. That's the obligation we owe that child as parents. So that's where I stand on that. When it comes to the monkeypox situation, I know there's been a lot of talk about declaring a state of emergency with this. My position, quite simply, is on monkeypox is first of all, we need to have a wholesale change at the CDC. Part of the communications problem that COVID had was a communications problem, quite frankly. It was not getting the word out properly. And you've got, as president, you've got to have confidence in everyone that works for you, especially a person who works for the CDC, a director. And so, I mean, it would change anyway under my administration because that's an appointed position. But I would have in that position a confident person that would make sound decisions and that I could trust in that position to make those sound decisions on behalf of the American people. I would rely on my CDC director to give me advice, to give my senior staff advice on how to best handle monkeypox. I don't think at this time it would be a case where I would declare an emergency. Again, we would constantly review this. I don't think there's a sense or cause for alarm like there was for COVID. I think we're dealing with a whole different situation right now than COVID. And so I think we need to handle it differently. But first of all, we need to have a wholesale change at CDC, and that would start under my administration. I want to touch on mental health and gun control. And these go hand in hand. I've come to this podium so much this summer and talked about violence, gun violence. I came to this podium and I talked at the end of the school year about a terrible, tragic shooting in my home state of Texas. I came here on July 4th, to this podium on July 4th, and was ready to speak about our nation celebrating its Independence Day and what an important day it is in our nation's history. But yet I had to give another remarks about a shooting that took place on Independence Day in Illinois. Mental health and gun control go hand in hand. It takes a lot to pull a trigger. Growing up, I was fortunate enough to be, and a lot of us in Texas, a lot of us throughout the country, growing up, we were fortunate enough to have parents who actually taught us the proper way to handle a weapon and respect it. And to tell you quite simply, it takes a lot to put a weapon in your hand and to pull the trigger. That's why I'm saying in the gun control measure, and I was very happy to see that there is provisions for mental health funding there. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. A lot of people are saying that's not going to help. You're going to have to figure out a way to get help to the people. Well, let's get this bill in place, and it's starting to roll out. Let's get this bill in place and see what happens. And we got to get help to these people. And I think it goes back to what I was talking about parenting. A lot of the latest people who have caused these senseless acts of violence are in their teens. What happened in their house that caused them to do this? Not only have you taken lives in schools and in parades, but in most cases, you've taken your life. Your life essentially is over. How did that go wrong? How did that go wrong? And so I think having mental health funding out there as part of gun control and having more counselors available will be a big incentive to get this situation under control. I don't want to come to this podium again and give another talk about a senseless shooting. I really don't want to do that. I know it happened. It happened. There was another shooting or reports of an active shooter at the Mall of America today. This has got to stop. This has got to stop. And I think the gun control bill that was passed earlier this summer will go a long ways in doing that. So that's where we stand as far as what my thoughts are for the fall agenda. I know there's a lot of work left to do on this. Not a whole lot of time left to get it done. But I really want to see a bipartisan of Congress to come together, Democrats and Republicans to come together and work out the issues. Because we do that, we make this country better again. And quite frankly, the people who put you in the Capitol, who put you in the House, who put you in the Senate, expect that of you. I expect that of you. And so it is time for us to put down the partisan politics. It's time for us to get to work for the American people and do what they have asked us to do in our nation's capital. Thank you all very much.